Thank you so much for joining us. All of us here at Morehouse are thrilled to have you with us for our Tiger Talk this evening. We have probably one of the most important topics to talk about as everyone who is exploring and looking at their way that they're going to navigate going to college. Funding is obviously a critical piece of that. So tonight we're going to talk about three key ways to cover the cost of attending Morehouse. So I am Paula Restley. I'm the Chief Brand Officer and Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and Admissions here at Morehouse. And I am joined by my two esteemed colleagues who I will turn the microphone over to them to introduce themselves. And we'll start first with Jonathan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Jordan. I'm the Director of Financial Aid and Scholarships here at Morehouse.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Elmore, Director of Donor Relations, Scholarships, and Endowment Administration.
Excellent. Thank you all. So first, I want to just tell you a little bit about Morehouse for those of you who may not know a whole lot about us. Morehouse has, for over 150 years, prepared young men to change the world through leadership and service driven by innovation, technology, global cultural dexterity, and a liberal arts foundation of knowledge and pillars of the community. We are a community with a mission to develop men with disciplined minds who will lead lives of leadership and service. We are the nation's only historically Black private liberal arts college for men. So this evening, we're going to cover four main topics, and our wonderful colleagues that you just met, we're going to walk you through all of this incredible information to help you in this journey. Financial aid. We will also talk about FAFSA. If you're not familiar with FAFSA, that's the free application for federal student aid. We'll also talk about academic works, which is our scholarships, and external scholarships. And of course, at the end, we are absolutely going to open it up for Q&A, and we want you to throw all the questions you have at us. We are here for that in exact purpose. If you are going to ask any questions, please do use the Q&A function in the Zoom meeting, and we will be fielding those and working with those in order to get your answers from our colleagues here. So let's go ahead and jump in. I am going to turn it over to Jonathan.
All right, so let's get started. What is financial aid? So financial aid consists of aid that you receive through the federal government once you have completed the free application for federal student aid. Or the FAFSA. So this funding helps students to pay for college and other educational expenses. And then to apply for that, for the financial aid, you can complete the application at studentaid.gov. So there are three ways to cover the cost of attendance to attend Morehouse. So we'll start with the free funding first, funding that doesn't have to be paid back, and that is your grants, which is a form of financial aid that doesn't have to be repaid unless you withdraw from school or you don't complete a specific service obligation. Then you have your scholarships. So that's a form of aid that is offered by nonprofit and private organizations, and that's based on your merit, based on your academic achievements. And again, that aid does not have to be paid back. Then you have loans. This is the funding that has to be paid back, and it's usually paid back after you have graduated. So, and a bonus would be federal work study, which is a part-time job that helps you gain work experience while you are on campus and being a student. So it's helping you to build your resume while you're here. So the 25-26 FAFSA is coming up. The FAFSA typically is opened on October the 1st. But with the changes and everything with the federal government, they have pushed the date back, and it will open between December 1st and December 31st, 2024. Like I said, historically, it has been available on October the 1st each year, but there have been several changes with this last cycle and then with the upcoming 25-26 cycle. And so with that, it will not be available until December the 1st. So if you're wanting to forecast your 25-26 eligibility, There is a student aid estimator that can be found at studentaid.gov. It provides an estimate of how much federal student aid that you would be eligible to receive. And keep in mind that these are estimates and it's based off of your student aid index or SAI, and that determines your aid eligibility. So when preparing for the 25-26 FAFSA form, you'll go and create an account at studentaid.gov. You'll then go and research the type of documents that you will need to complete. Those documents may be text documents. If you're talking about dependency and things of that nature, it may be court documents. So it just depends on whatever your status is, what documents you will need to provide or need to have handy rather when you are completing the FAFSA. So you'll also need to determine your dependency status. So that will determine on whether or not if your parent or spouse will need to contribute information to the FAFSA. And if you're a dependent student, you can see who your parent is that needs to be listed. They have a wizard on the FAFSA, and it helps you to identify what parent will be required when completing that application. So a few key changes to the FAFSA for 25-26 that took place last year. The first and the main one is going to be the contributor. And with that, again, you have to determine what contributors will be required when you're completing the FAFSA. So it could be a parent or a step parent, your spouse, or a student. So contributors have to provide the required information and sign your respective section on the FAFSA in order for your application to be deemed complete. A FAFSA onboarding experience for both initial entry and correction entry. Additionally, once you've created your account, you will also need to create an FSA ID, which is going to be your username and your password, and that is required to electronically sign the FAFSA at the end once you've completed everything. So not only you as the student need to complete an FSA or create an FSA ID, but your parent and or the contributor will need to create an FSA ID as well. And then the roles that are on the FAFSA will be the student, which you are the applicant, so the student, parent, and the preparer. Typically, if you have someone other than yourself completing the FAFSA, their information would need to be listed on there as well. And so once all required data has been provided and everything has been signed, you can submit the FAFSA. So contributors request to complete. So a dependent student, so for the sake of this, for this presentation, we're going to say that you're a student, as a freshman, you're a student that's beginning a brand new application. So you'll go to the landing page at studentaid.gov and you will click on the link that says start a new form. And this is where it will take you to go through, take you through the steps to complete the FAFSA. You need to allow about an hour to complete this application. It may not take you a full hour, but definitely set aside time for about an hour to complete the form in its entirety. So when I mentioned earlier about contributors, so students, you have to invite your parents to the FAFSA form. So this is, again, this is something that's new, where in the past that was not required, but now you have to actually invite your parents to provide their information onto the FAFSA so that it will be deemed complete upon submission. And here you'll find the steps to transfer tax information. So again, you'll log into the FAFSA or start a new FAFSA. So again, for your sake, you're starting a new FAFSA at studentaid.gov, and then you'll move on to determine who the contributor will be. So whether it's going to be one parent, both parents, if it's going to be a spouse, whatever the case may be. And again, making sure that they have their own FSA ID. The next step is figuring out, again, the contributors providing their consent. So after they've completed everything and you figured out who your contributor is going to be, you need to then send them the consent so that they can input their information on the application. The IRS will then share their tax information onto the FAFSA. And don't worry, it's grayed out and it's redacted. So you're not seeing so they don't have to worry about you seeing their information or vice versa. All of that information is going to be redacted. And then you're going to check with your contributors to make sure that they finished their portion and that they've signed all of the remaining sections. And then you will review and submit it. So you've submitted your FAFSA. What's next? So it typically takes about 3 to 5 business days for Morehouse's financial aid office to receive your application. Once we receive it, there may be a chance that you would be selected for verification. And if so, that's just the way that the federal government wants to verify that the information that you submitted on the FAFSA is actually accurate and everything aligns and matches. And so they just want to verify the information that you've submitted. And so when you're submitting the documents, you can submit them virtually through Kia, which is our third-party servicer who verifies Department of Education documents for us. And so now we're going to get into the loan types or your loan options. So you have your subsidized loan. That's a loan that is not accruing interest as long as you are enrolled in a minimum of 6 credit hours a semester, and it is a need-based loan. Then you have your unsubsidized loan, which is a non-need-based loan, but it is accruing interest from the date that it is dispersed to your account. Then there's the Parent Plus loan for undergraduate students. So this is a loan that is offered to your parents if you do not have enough financial aid on your own to cover the cost of a Morehouse education. And then private education loans are your absolute last resort. And so these are used for students that maybe don't have enough scholarships, they don't have enough of their own loans, and their Parent Plus loan is not enough. So you do have the option to pursue private education loans through a bank or a credit union. And here, this is a chart just to give you an idea of what a student can borrow as a freshman student, freshman through senior. So there is an annual cap of what you can receive based on your classification and based on your dependency status. So for a dependent student, you can borrow up to $31,000. That's the cap. The aggregate amount that you can borrow, but there is a cap for each year. So say for instance, you're a freshman, your first year, you only qualify for 500. As a junior or a senior, you qualify for 7,500. And then same thing with as an independent student, your limits just increase. But as an independent student, the aggregate limit is 57,500. But again, you have your annual amounts that you qualify for. And then, of course, the Parent Plus loan, like I mentioned, the Parent Plus loan is for parents and it's offered to parents. Uh, sorry, it's offered to parents, and your parents have the option to take out this loan again if you do not have enough financial aid on your own to cover your Morehouse education. So parents can apply for this loan at studentaid.gov. It is based on credit, so a parent that has non-adverse credit history may qualify for this loan. And again, if approved, the parent should complete the master promissory note and entrance counseling if it is required. All of these forms are done electronically. There are no paper forms, and everything again can be done at studentaid.gov. Satisfactory academic progress. And so satisfactory academic progress is, it essentially mandates what GPA and what pace you are maintaining while as a student, and that what you have to maintain in order to continue receiving federal financial aid. So with the GPA, you have to maintain a cumulative GPA of a 1.8 or a 2.0, 1.8 to a 2.0, depending on your year in college. Your pace, you have to maintain at least 67% of the hours that you attempt. And then your maximum time frame, a typical degree is 120 hours. So, the feds will start looking at you if you've gone beyond that. So you just want to make sure that you are staying on pace, staying within the time frame, and that you are maintaining the GPA required, and you will not have any issues with satisfactory academic progress. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda to talk about academic works.
Thank you, Jonathan. So I don't know about you, but I like free money. So I'm going to try and get you all some free money for those who will be attending Morehouse in the fall. But Academic Works is our online scholarship management system, and it offers a fully cloud-based solution for collecting and awarding scholarship applications. Basically, what this means is that you can apply anywhere at any time, and you don't have to be connected to a specific network to apply for our scholarships. They are renewable. Some of our scholarships are renewable, so we make that process easy as well. Um, I have, I can click a button that designates which scholarships are renewable. You receive an email notification in March of each year, and you have 30 days. You have to upload documentation that you can be completed community service hours. And as long as you maintain your GPA requirement or any other requirement that the donor set and submit your community service hours, your scholarship will be renewable. So how do you access Academic Works? Where is it? So there are two ways to access Academic Works. One is through the Morehouse Scholarship Portal. So once, as a new student, once you've been accepted into Morehouse, you will get a username and password, and you can log into the portal, and then you can click on Academic Works. There's an application within the portal, and you'll just sign in with that information. The other way to access Academic Works is it's web-based. So you just type in morehouse.academicworks.com and you will sign in with your Morehouse username and password as well. So those are the two ways to get in, through the portal or just type it in through a web address. And also we will send communication out to all new students, letting you know the portal does open in December of each year and it will close in April of 2025. I highly encourage you to apply as early decision or early action students, because those are the students who will more than likely get our full ride scholarships. But some of the benefits of Academic Works, you complete one general application, one. So you're not submitting 5 or 6 different essays. It's one general application that does include an essay. And then basically your answers, it reads like a resume. So we'll ask you questions about your extracurricular activities, your community service involvement, any honors or awards you received, but this is your opportunity to brag about yourself. Like I said, once you submit or hit the submit button, you should see that your application, you should see that status on your applications tab within the system. If it's incomplete, it'll direct you to complete your application and hit the submit button. And you can go in and make changes, but always hit submit if you do make any changes. Students who have been awarded scholarships will accept it through the scholarship portal. We'll send you an email to your Morehouse email address, and you'll just accept the scholarship. It'll tell you what scholarship you received, how much money, and any criteria that is set forth by the donor. You'll see all that information within that email that you've been awarded a scholarship. So like I said, new students who have been admitted to Morehouse, returning students can apply to Academic Works. It opens up to everyone, like I said, in December of 2024, and it will close in April of 2025. And the web address is here, where it says Morehouse Scholarship Portal. So yeah, like I said, you just have to submit the one general application, and based on your responses, you'll be matched to different scholarships. So everyone who is awarded a scholarship, you have to have a FAFSA on file. I know Jonathan talked about that, but that is a requirement for any scholarship here at Morehouse College. If you are selected for verification, you will have to submit additional information through KIA, as Jonathan mentioned earlier. Also, you have to maintain a certain GPA to receive our scholarships. Most of the scholarships are 3.0 GPA or higher. We do have a few that are, 2.5, 2.8. The majority of them are 3.0 GPA or higher. We do look at community service hours. You will have to complete community service hours for any scholarship to maintain that scholarship for the next year, and then any other conditions, that are necessary. A lot of scholarships state you have to have 30 credit hours for the year. So 15 in the fall, 15 in the spring semester. Sometimes students take 12, maybe they didn't like a class or not doing too well, so they'll drop it. But then they have to take So if they have 12, yeah, then they'll have to take those additional credit hours. I think, yes, 16 or so, 18 in the spring semester to equal 30. So as long as you have 30 by the time you leave in May, you should be good. And then also we offer general scholarships that are open to all students. And then we have restricted scholarships for specific majors or specific geographical location as well. So certain state, we'll have donors that say student from North Carolina or from Texas. So we do have some that are specific to that area as well. And also, I kind of want to talk about, before I get into some of our examples, the awarding process. So students, like I said, you fill out the general application. You are, once you submit that, we have a scholarship committee who reviews all of these applications that students have submitted, and you're given a score, and it's based off of your any honors or awards that you received, your essay. It's also based on academic performance, leadership, service. So we have a rubric that we use. The faculty and staff will review your applications. And then basically, whatever scholarships that you match to, based on your score, that is how we award the scholarships to the students. So based on that score and the information that you submitted. And you do have to submit an application through Academic Works to be considered for scholarships. I know we have some set aside for first-time freshmen, and I'll go through that in the next slide, but those you will not have to go through Academic Works. But if you do not get any of those scholarships, then you'll need to complete Academic Works to be considered for other scholarships that are available. So some examples are some of the scholarships that we have. So we have Dr. Michael L. Lomax. We, for incoming freshmen, we'll recruit or award 20 new students. So 20. This is a full ride scholarship. So this one you will not have to apply through Academic Works. We'll look at your admissions application, and we'll have faculty and staff review those and score you based on that information. So this full ride scholarship, it renews as long as you maintain a 3.0 GPA. You have to have 50 hours of community service that you complete on campus every year. And as long as you meet those requirements and the 30 credit hours, you have a full ride until you graduate from freshman year through senior year. Oprah Winfrey Scholarship. I'm sorry, Michael Lomax. So I said 20 students. We do 10 need-based and 10 merit-based scholarships. Oprah Winfrey is a need-based scholarship, and there are currently 57 students in that one. They do, Dr. Adams does select freshmen for this scholarship, and this is a renewable scholarship as well. It's $25,000 a year. So you'll get $25,000 from your freshman year to your senior year. And you can also apply for additional scholarships to add more money to that one. Morgan Stanley is a need-based scholarship as well. We award 5 new freshmen every year. So this one has 5. So we currently have 19 scholars in this program. And with this partnership with Morgan Stanley, they pay for our students to go out to New York every year. They have mentors that they work with. They do monthly workshops with the students as well. So this is a great partnership where the donor is very hands-on. The students know, the CEO, they have access to the vice president of Morgan Stanley. They had the opportunity to intern with Morgan Stanley. So this is a wonderful program that we really, really recommend. Yardi Scholarship is merit-based. So this year they added 2 new freshmen. I think next year going forward, we'll add 2 more freshmen as well. So this will be up to 7 students. And this is $30,000 a year and is renewable from your freshman year until you graduate from Morehouse. And then the Coca-Cola First Generation Scholars Program. Right now, the cohort is 9 students, and these same 9 students, they haven't added any more right now, but it's the same 9 students who currently, from their freshman year till they graduate, they get $25,000 a year. And this is a need base, and you have to be a first generation college student to get this scholarship as well. Now, I believe here's our contact information. I don't know, Paula, if you want to.
Yes. Hi, sorry, I was trying to get off. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jonathan and Rhonda. This is phenomenal information. I do see questions coming in, but We did want to share with you our contact information. So if you're looking to reach Jonathan in the financial aid office, there's some information there for being able to reach him in the QR code. We also have Rhonda in our Office of Institutional Advancement, which handles our scholarships, the academic portal that she mentioned, or academic works portal that she mentioned. And then the admissions office, obviously, for the recruiting and the admissions staff, you can contact us at the information there. I really appreciate both of you. Come off camera because we got lots of questions for you guys. So I want to make sure that we are able to get to both of you. I do one of the, well, I guess three things that I kind of took from that is there's some really important things that everybody should take away from that initially. One, make sure you're checking your email. You'll get when you have your Morehouse email address, we communicate with you through that. So please make sure that you check your email. I know email gets, a little bombarded with all kinds of emails, all from all kinds of different things, but please make sure that you're checking that on a regular basis. There are lots of options for financial aid, scholarships, ways to pay for college. So just really ask a lot of questions and make sure you're pursuing as many of those avenues as you possibly can. And then the last being that FAFSA is required for both financial aid and scholarships. So you do want to make sure that you get that in and as soon as possible. And one of my questions for that, just right off the bat, is, and maybe this is for Jonathan. So what's the importance of submitting your FAFSA ASAP? What's the advantage of that?
So submitting the FAFSA early, it really guarantees that if there is institutional funding to be awarded, that you would be reviewed first. It's kind of like a first come, first served basis. The money is limited. The institutional aid that we have is very limited. And so the earlier the better. It'll give you the opportunity to, if you are missing documents or you need to provide information for verification, that you're getting that done before we actually start awarding financial aid for the new year. So it's very important to do this as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And so one of the questions is that, and you alluded to this, is that, there's been delays with FAFSA last year. This year, it's also not going to be October 1st. It's going to be delayed until December. How will that delay affect our institutional scholarship offers to admitted students as well as other scholarships that consider financial status?
So with that, along with the FAFSA being delayed, we're also waiting for the Department of Education to provide certain system upgrades to our student information system. And so that at this time has not even been released by the federal government. So yes, the FAFSA will be available between December 1st and December 31st, but it also is contingent on when the federal government provides those upgrades to our student information system so that we can start loading those applications so that we can make sure that we are awarding in a timely fashion. So at this time, there really isn't a set date or a set answer. But just know is the sooner that you submit it, we already have it. Once those upgrades happen, my team, we are on it and we are making sure that you get awarded as quickly as possible.
Great. And I do see that we have some in the chat saying to use the Q&A for questions. So we do have a lot of questions coming in, but I do want to remind everyone to go ahead and if you have a question, just put it in the Q&A and we'll try to get to that. There are a couple of questions around Academic Works portal opening December 1st. When is the earliest that students who've completed and submitted an application, especially let's consider early decision, because we know early decision notifications come out early December. So when will they be able to get into Academic Works in order to fill out that application?
So it actually for early action or early decision students, we use your common application, but it does open, you can apply. It does open in early December. Last year was December 4th, so I have to check and see what the date is for this year. But it does open in December and it stays open through April. Like I said, we help with the help of admissions. We use your common app, your essay that you submitted there. So I tell students, because when I read a lot of those, students don't fill in that common app with all the details and information. That is the only information we have to, I shouldn't say judge you, but to review your application and, give you a score with our rubric. So talk about yourself. This is your opportunity to brag about yourself. What have you done? What leadership, what clubs and organizations, or you're captain of the football team. Brag about that. If you've done an internship with someone, talk about that, some research. So it's your opportunity to brag about yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Jonathan, there's a question about the FAFSA ID. When you touched on that, can you go over that a little bit? How long does it take to get this ID? Should we do it now?
So I would recommend going ahead and doing it now. Even though the FAFSA is not available, you go to fsaid.gov to complete your FSA ID and create that. That is one step that you can go ahead and take now. So that is not associated, again, it is associated with the FAFSA, but with the FAFSA not opening until December, you can go ahead and create your FSA ID. And whoever the contributor is or the parent can go ahead and create their FSA ID if you need to do so. So if you don't already have one, I encourage you to go ahead and do that. Um, if we have any parents or students out here that want to do an FSA ID and don't have a social, I recommend going ahead and doing that now because we did experience a lot of delays with this last cycle for students that did not have social security numbers.
Okay, great. There's a couple questions on scholarships. So, Rhonda, I'm going to come to you. One is about SAT score, and I do just want to let everybody know we are test optional. So, test scores are not required for admission to Morehouse. One is around the SAT score. Is it considered in scholarships when we're selecting scholarships? And then the other, can you talk a little bit about what the difference is between and if it's need-based, financial need-based for scholarships? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so as Paula stated, SAT, ACT is not required at Morehouse. So I will say the only scholarship that looks at that is, it's new this year, the STAMP scholarship. Paula, I believe that is the only one that actually looks at SAT and ACT scores. But the other scholarships, we do not look at SAT or ACT. And your second question was need-based versus merit-based. So need-based, basically based on your FAFSA that you submit, your parents' income. And Jonathan will probably go over how that ranges the score, but I believe a negative 1,500 is the most need, and it increases. So the higher you go, and I believe if it's over, is it like 6,500 or something? So whatever that student aid index, SAI, that determines if you're need based or not. So if it's higher than 6,500, you're probably going to be more merit-based. And I will tell you, majority of our scholarships are need-based scholarships. We're working towards getting more merit-based, but majority of them are need-based scholarships.
Okay, great. There is a question about booking an appointment with a financial office, and we had that on the contact us screen. So we'll go ahead and put that up at the end of the presentation for a few minutes before we close out, just so you guys can capture that information, because there is a QR code there where if you scan that, it'll put you into our system that's called QLIS, and that'll get you an appointment with the financial aid team so that they can talk to you about FAFSA or any questions that you have around financial aid. Is that correct, Jonathan?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to see if we got some questions in here that I can kind of lump together. Okay, well, there is a question around our application. If you started an application on Common App and you also have one on the Morehouse app, kind of merging those together, reach out to our admissions staff and they can help walk you through that. That's a technical piece that we can assist you with on that one. What are the odds of my student having access to institutional funds if they do not get any funds from FAFSA? Is that question?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Repeat that.
That's okay. What are the odds of my student having access to institutional funds? And I assume that's institutional, maybe scholarships, if they do not get any funds from, you don't necessarily get funds from FAFSA, but from maybe from financial aid.
Mhm. So, and that's where I encourage students to apply for using Academic Works to apply for our institutional scholarships. If you have outside resources, one of the most underutilized resources are entities within your community. And so I definitely also recommend that you check around your community to see what scholarships there are available out there. Because like I said, institutional dollars are very limited. And so everyone is in need of those institutional dollars. And so they do go pretty quickly. And so if your student, and I want to make sure that I preface, so a lot of people think that when you apply for the FAFSA, you don't qualify for anything if you don't get Pell Grant. That is not true. That is a misconception. If you're a student, if you apply for the FAFSA, you qualify for financial aid. It may not be the financial aid that you want. It may not be federal grants like Pell Grant or SEOG, but it may encompass loans. You qualify for financial aid. Okay. And so I just want to make sure that I put that out there for everybody because that is a common misconception. But again, applying for outside scholarships on our website, we have a list of reputable outside scholarship entities that you can apply for that our students receive those scholarship dollars from. I know for sure UNCF, Thurgood Marshall, things of that nature. Students can apply for those scholarships as well. But again, I would not solely bank on receiving institutional funding because it goes so quickly. So again, using outside resources such as your scholarships within your community, local churches, things of that nature, applying for outside scholarships, checking out our scholarship website, Academic Works. So doing your due diligence and researching those areas to ensure that your students have enough money to fund a Morehouse education.
Yeah. And a little bit of clarification, maybe, Rhonda, on the academic work scholarship or, application. Does that allow a student to apply for both Morehouse institutional scholarships as well as external scholarships? How does that work? Does it, and you were saying it kind of determines what you match up to. Does it also do that for the external scholarships as well?
And I was going to mention that. So for the external scholarship, so on that, when you log in or sign in, it'll say opportunities. There's a drop down. They'll say hours, which is the Morehouse scholarships. And you can just see a list of what we offer and how much those scholarships award. But then there's a drop down when you can also click on external. So I do post external scholarships. So companies, businesses, organizations reach out to me. I basically just post their information in Academic Works. It'll take you directly the link to their application. So I don't have anything to do with that awarding process, but I just provide information. Financial aid will send me information. Someone may reach out to them and Miss Ashley, and I'll share that information on Academic Works as well. And like Jonathan said, I would reach out to, fraternities and sororities in your community, the graduate chapters, any other community organizations that offer scholarship opportunities. I would research and look into those as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that in to say we're certainly not all inclusive of all external scholarships. So by all means, people should be reaching out in their community and seeing what's available through their community that we may not even be aware of. Okay, so one of the other questions, if completing a special circumstance due to income, I was told it wouldn't be reviewed until June or July. How will that affect my son receiving funding if applying for scholarships?
So typically with the special circumstance, because we don't get a lot of them, the standard procedure is if you have a valid SAI at the time that you submit the FAFSA and at the time that we start to process, we're going to process you for the financial aid that you qualify for at that time. And then as the summer goes on and we get closer to the semester, then special circumstance forms will begin to be reviewed to determine if the SAI needs to be lowered. There's not necessarily a guarantee that a special circumstance will allow your SAI to be lowered. It kind of is contingent on the information that is submitted with that. So, and essentially what the special circumstance is for is to lower the SAI to see if you qualify for additional need-based aid. So the big one is Pell Grant. A lot of people submit a special circumstance because they want to be Pell Grant eligible. But if your SAI is super high, say for instance, 60 to $100,000, depending on what you submit, there's not necessarily a guarantee that it will get low enough to award you need-based aid. So we award you what we can award you at that time, and then if we can award you more, then we will.
Okay. Can you, maybe both of you, talk to this one a little bit? Because I think, again, people are concerned with FAFSA being delayed, right, until December. How does that impact our process in packaging financial aid, in awarding scholarships, so that parents have a good idea of kind of what they're dealing with? So can you talk a little bit about the timeline and how that works in both of your areas?
So I'll start. So with us, so with us again, as I previously mentioned, the cards have to align, all of the stars and things like that have to align. So yes, the FAFSA will open on December 1st, and what we hope, or December 1st or around, what we hope is that once it has launched, that the feds will then provide us with the updates to our system so that we can start to load them from the Department of Education so that we can start loading those FAFSAs into the system. Once we do that, currently, internally, we have a target date of February 1st to start awarding. That's a target date. It's an estimated date. It's not guaranteed that we will start at that time, but that's what we're setting our internal goals is to start awarding by February the 1st.
And I'll just piggyback off of Jonathan because I do work with financial aid office. So we meet and we do have target deadlines, but like I said, it depends on what FAFSA does this year. But we do try and award, especially like those early decision students, like Jonathan said, either, you know, end of January, beginning of February, and then March for like those early March, April for those early action students. So definitely freshmen or incoming students are the priority as far as scholarships. Because
Yes.
we want you to know and make that decision by May 1st. Like, yes, I'm coming to Morehouse. They've given me all this money and I'm coming here.
Yeah.
And same for when awarding federal aid, like Rhonda said, freshmen are the priority. Freshmen are the priority because we know that you do have decisions to make and that you have several schools that you're looking at. And we want Morehouse to be your top priority.
Great. There is a good question here about the FAFSA ID. So do both parents have to get a FAFSA ID? If married but file single, my son works, does he need an ID too?
Mhm. So that totally depends on what parent is going to be listed on the FAFSA. So married filing jointly, or did you say married filing single?
I think they're just
Separately.
asking like if we're married, do they both have to have an ID? If married but file single, like what are sort of some of the ramifications around all of them?
So if the tax return is married filing separately, there's going to need, and jointly actually, married filing separately and jointly, both parents are going to have to sign the FAFSA. And so with that, you both are going to need an FSA ID. You said that the student works. Because the student is going to be the student, they have to sign electronically as well. And so an FSA ID is required for them as well.
And that's required, the student's required whether they're working or not. That's just
Correct.
because they're a contributor,
That is
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because both parties have to sign electronically. So with the contributors, because again, if you're filing separately, both of you are going to have to provide tax information for that particular student, and so both of you will need to be grant permission for the feds to access your tax information so that it is then imported into the FAFSA. Again, it is redacted, so your students won't be able to see any of that. If you don't want them to see that, it will be redacted. They won't be able to see it. But the FSA ID is going to be required for all contributors to sign electronically so that it is processed properly.
So just so I'm clear, so a student has to complete the FAFSA form, a student, regardless of whether they're working or not.
That is correct.
If they're working, is their tax information then needed to be input because they're working and they're being taxed?
That is correct. Yes, there is a section. Yes, there is a section for students' income to be added onto the FAFSA
Okay.
on the income information. So there's like a section for parents, and then there's a section for the students. And so all of the tax, it's all in sync, and it's all on there, and it all goes into determining what the student's SAI is. And since we're on this, I do want to say that if a student is working and they are earning money, self-sufficiency does not determine dependency. So yes, your student can be working, but that does not mean that they are an independent student and they do not need your tax information. Your student either has to be 24, they have to have dependents, they have to be married or be in the military in order to be considered independent. So parents, your tax information will be required on the FAFSA for your student that is coming into Morehouse. Self-sufficiency does not determine their dependency.
So can you just say those I think it was four self-sufficiency criteria again for everyone?
Yes. So age of 24, if your student is not 24, if they are not married in the military or they do not have dependents, they are not considered independent. They are a dependent student. If they are working and showing self-sufficiency to you for the federal government or for financial aid purposes, they are still not independent. They are still a dependent student because they did not meet those four.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. If someone has already started as a first year, are there scholarships offered for spring semester or are they only awarded in the fall?
So our scholarships are awarded for the academic year. So when you from basically August to May. Um, so we do not take away scholarships. So a student may not do so well, after a semester, we give them the second semester to bring it up. And if they don't do well again, then we may take the scholarship away. That is not the goal, but typically it's from August to May that we award scholarships. We're working on getting transfer scholarships, but we're not there yet.
Okay. And that was actually one of the questions is, are there scholarships for transfer students?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. And the same for there are unique, what about international students? Because I think there are unique scholarships for international students, but it's not the same as our institutional. Can you clarify that?
Have I would say from my maybe a couple, but they're more like Bermudian students right now that we actually have an endowed scholarship for. We're working on that one as well too, so it's coming.
Okay. When does the Bonner Scholarship open? Do you know the date on that?
I don't oversee that one, so
Yeah,
that
I'd
one.
have to look into that one. I don't know the answer off the top of my head, so we can find that out for you. Maybe someone on the line can see if they can find that online and we can share that in the chat. Oh, that's an interesting question around research. I don't know that anyone on this call is going to have a great, maybe Rhonda, you may know a little bit, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what are the opportunities for undergraduate research? Do you have any insight into that? If not, that's another thing we'll take with the admissions
Yeah.
team and make sure we get an
I
answer.
I know students have done research with faculty on campus because I see it on their scholarship applications.
Yeah.
So how they go about doing that, I don't know if they just reach out to the faculty or if that faculty member's, in the process of writing an article or book and they ask the students to help out. That I don't know. But yes, that opportunity is there. And I know students who've done internships at different schools in the summer and done like faculty research as well.
Yeah. So I do want to go back to when you were saying the scholarships, we award them for the academic year. So we do the awarding in the fall. There's a couple of folks in here that are talking about, their student is here and they maybe can't afford the spring semester. What other options, and maybe it's more Jonathan, some financial aid opportunities that they can do or things that they should be looking at or looking into? And I would assume there's even maybe some external scholarships that if they ask their community, there might be some opportunities for spring there. But what's available to students who are, looking to pay for the spring semester? And I'm asking financial aid, Jonathan.
I said,
Sorry.
Jonathan, you want that one?
I was like, where's the mouse? So again, there is funding that we are waiting to get uh, uh, clarity on for spring. So there may be an opportunity for funding where we will go in and review accounts to determine what students have uh, uh, taken measures to exhaust all of their options because we want to make sure that it's fair and concise across the board in terms of the funding, institutional funding that is available to assist with balances. So one of the things that we look at, and I know that it's not an ideal thing, but these students and their families have exhausted all of the options. They've accepted all of their loans, and they have also either taken out the Parent Plus loan or they've applied for the Parent Plus loan and were denied. We look at those students first. We look at that group of students first because they have exhausted every last option available to them, provided to them. And then from there, if there's funding left over, then we start to review other students who may not have taken out or their parents may not have been denied for a Parent Plus loan. So in terms of institutional aid, that's the criteria that we use to determine how we're going to best utilize those funds and extend them to students that have exhausted all options from the federal side.
So we have a couple questions that are kind of in that same vein. So maybe it's you can elaborate on it pertaining to specific the questions that are here. As the parent of a Morehouse senior, what money, if any, is set aside to help the young men through their final year, spring semester, if they're struggling to see them through the final leg of Morehouse? And I've no financial aid has talked about these things and have had these kind of situations arise. So can you talk a little bit about that for the seniors?
Absolutely. So there is a pot of money that is set aside for last semester seniors because the goal is to graduate the senior class without having a bill or owing a bill to Morehouse. And so there is a pot of money that is set aside that we review all graduating seniors for, making sure that they're meeting all of the graduation criteria, that they will be actually graduating, and we will offset the balance after, if they've taken out everything, they've done everything they need to do, we will offset the balance with that money that is set aside.
Okay. So here I may have missed this, but do you send us the scholarships our son is eligible for? We have already submitted our application. So how do people know? Like once they've submitted their application for scholarships, what's that process of they get notified via email? What's the process there?
So if they applied early decision, like I said, we will not make those decisions about scholarships until probably end of January, February, depending on FAFSA this year as well. But yes, you will receive an email notification. And Paul, I'm not sure, do you all actually mail something out to the students as far as those like Michael Lomax?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
If
so
you're
you will receive notification, whether it's email or the old school snail mail, but you will receive notification. You were offered a scholarship. I know there was a student who was pretty local. We actually went to his high school and surprised him and recorded it because we showed the video at one of our events here on campus. But his family was very surprised and he was excited that he got the scholarship. So we try and do those special things for those who are close and in the area. I believe admissions went to Woodward Academy to let the students know that they had been accepted to Morehouse as well. So yeah. So we do some in-person stuff, some mail, email, yes.
yeah. And there are a lot of questions around, timing with notification dates and deposit due dates and all of those things. I think, at least from an admissions office, I know we work really hard to FAFSA kind of throw us all for a loop last year, right? We were all trying to, and I say we all, not just Morehouse, every college on the earth, and was trying to figure out how do we work with the Department of Education as they're going through this process and making sure that we can still do our process, the due diligence that we need to do in order to give students and their families, the notice that they need in order to make a decision. We have probably a little bit of more time this year because if December is when it's going to come out, I think we were pushed into the following year, this current year. I would say from an admissions perspective, we are doing the best that we can in order to just make sure that we work with financial aid and with the OIA to find the right way that we can with these earlier decision, early action students who are ahead of the game, who have done what they need to do to partner with you guys to package and notify families as soon as we possibly can so that they have the time to make, an educated decision on is Morehouse, one, is it the school for my son, but is it the school that I can afford for my son as well? Anything you guys have in addition to that, as far as just putting some people's minds at ease, knowing that FAFSA is delayed again this year and how we're going to do the best that we can to partner with families, knowing that we're all kind of working through this together.
Absolutely. Like I said, so we have a target deadline of February the 1st. Again, the application opens in December. And so once we return from the holiday break at the end of December, we're hoping and have our fingers crossed that we will have all of the upgrades that we need because, yeah, we have that target date of February the 1st. But if we have um, all of the upgrades that we need and we're able to test, I'm pretty sure that we will start awarding before then. And so our ultimate goal is to get you the best financial aid package that we can as quickly as possible so that you guys can make those informed decisions. I will say a huge kudos to Morehouse because we actually, with the significant delays last year, we were able to get award packages out by May the 1st. That was not ideal, but we moved really quickly because there were some schools that did not award until well into the summer, but Morehouse was able to award by May 1st of last year, or of this year, rather. They were able to get all students awarded and packaged by May the 1st, which is a huge testament to the work of this enrollment team that we have here. So again, February 1st is our target deadline, and if we can get it done sooner, we definitely will.
Great. Thank you for that. So there's a question in here. I do not know this. I'm not even sure if I'm going to pronounce it correctly, but if a child has a Coogan account, which matures before he starts college, does he need to include the amount? I don't know. Coogen. Is anyone familiar with that? Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. So whoever asked that question, if you want to clarify maybe a little bit, we can see if we can answer that for you.
And if you can clarify if you're talking about adding that on the income on a FAFSA, like if it would go under the taxed or untaxed section, that would be helpful as well.
Perfect. So Rhonda, for you, are there any exceptions made to the Bonner's Scholars criteria?
So that is another that so I'm not over Bonner at all. Um, that is, I believe, Dean Chapman, Kevin Chapman, yes, in his office. I do not even know what their criteria is for
And
that.
I mean, I think I would say based on scholarships in general, it's very rare. There are exceptions made to criteria. It's certainly, meeting the criteria for the scholarship, and that is the criteria, which is also the eligibility to maintain it, right? There's still requirements in order to maintain some of those scholarships. I mean, I'm assuming that's correct for the majority of scholarships, right, Rhonda?
And we don't set those criteria, the donor sets those
Right,
criteria. So when
right.
they give us the money, they say, this is what um, yeah, 3.0, English major, whatever crazy or not so crazy criteria they want to set. Yeah, and if it's too specific, we try and tell them, hey, can we not say, a specific city? Because we've had donors say they have to be from Cincinnati, Ohio. But we may not have any students from Cincinnati, Ohio. So then we open it up to all students after that. So
Right, right. Um,
And so,
yeah, go
Paul, I
ahead.
just wanted to go about the Kugan account. So, you should report the Kugan account on the FAFSA as a student asset. So it should be included there. The student assets can reduce eligibility for non-need based aid by 20% of the net worth of the asset, but it should be reported. Yes.
So we have about 2 minutes left, and I'm running through the questions, see if there's anything that I missed. But if there's anything that I didn't capture that we haven't made note of to capture after and follow up, please put it in the Q&A. I had a couple questions as you guys were presenting earlier. So I think it was on like slide 23. You talked about the satisfactory academic progress, right? The SAP, and that being eligibility requirements that the Department of Education sets for federal aid. Is that, and we just slightly alluded to it just a second ago, but maybe Rhonda, this is more for you is there similar sort of eligibility requirements for scholarships and maintaining those? And I know you talked about that's kind of set by the donors, but can you elaborate a little bit on that?
so if they do not have so if say if the criteria said 3.0, if they student does not have a 3.0, They can possibly appeal it. But we go by financial aid as well too. So if they're on SAP, then they're gonna have to go through that process with financial aid. Some of my full rides may have like a 2.8 or 2.9. I'm not gonna take their scholarship away based on a 2.8, but I will tell them I need you to get it up for the next year. If not, your scholarship will be taken. We also have them appeal it through the provost office too. So Dr. Foster, Dr. Brown will read over. They have to provide documentation, just like with financial aid, extenuating circumstances, and things like that. And they'll decide. I don't make that decision, but the provost office will decide if they can keep the scholarship, and then they have to increase their GPA, or they may not get it back.
Okay.
And once you lose a scholarship with us, you do not get it back, especially a full ride. You're not going to get it back. So once it's gone, it's gone. If you leave, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's
So,
also for the merit-based Morehouse Academic Scholarship as well. That scholarship does not have an appeal process. It requires 30 hours a year. And so if you don't meet that criteria or the GPA, once it's lost, it does go to the next eligible student and you cannot get it back.
so what you just mentioned merit-based scholarships. So for merit-based scholarships, one of the questions is if you're not looking at SAT, what are the merit-based requirements?
Pretty much what all the other scholars, 3.0 GPA or higher, the 30 credit hours per year, and we're not looking at your financial need. Your scholarship is basically based on what you've done as a student in high school. Just need-based is the same way. It's just that the student, it's based on need. So the students who have financial need are eligible for that scholarship. But pretty much all criteria are the same. Merit-based just means I can give you the scholarship or not. It doesn't matter what your parents' SAI or what your SAI looks like.
Got it. And then there's a question about the Zell Miller. What percentage of Zell Miller is accepted by Morehouse?
I do not have the exact answer to that, but I could get the answer and provide it to the admissions
Okay.
team. But I do not have the exact answer for that.
Okay, that would be great. Um, can transfer credits from dual enrollment be used to meet the 30-hour scholarship requirement?
No, we look at your Morehouse hours. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And, and I want to add to that. So say for instance, so if you have a Morehouse academic scholarship, if you don't meet the 30 credit hours, you do have to get approved by the registrar's office to take summer courses. You can reach your 30 hours. So say for instance, you're missing a 3 credit hour course and you take it at another institution, you have to get permission from the registrar's office to take that class somewhere else and then transfer it in, and then we will review you to see if you got the 30 credit hours for the Morehouse Academic Scholarship.
And I'll also add on for the funded scholarships that I oversee. If students let me know they're going to summer school, so especially for the renewable scholarships, they need to notify me in advance and say, hey, Miss Rhonda, I don't have 30 hours, I have 29.5 or 29. I'm going to summer school. As long as they tell me that and they send me their transcript with those hours by, usually they're done by what, July or August. If they meet that criteria, then I'll go ahead and renew their scholarship for them. But I need to know that in advance though.
Okay. Well, we're a few minutes over, and I appreciate everyone staying. I just want to mention two last things. I want to bring up the contact us because I know some people had some questions, maybe wanted to schedule some time with financial aid. So there's a QR code where you could scan to do that. And I do want to let everyone know, especially for those of you who are new students and considering Morehouse, we have an open house coming up. It's October 14th, and our deadline, last day to register today. So if you are interested in coming to our open house, we would love to have you go on our site and register for the open house October 14th and come and enjoy this wonderful institution and give us an opportunity to tell you why Morehouse is the place for you. I thank Jonathan Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us. And Rhonda Elmore, both of you were very, very helpful and incredible information. I think one of the most important things when you're considering a college is how are you going to pay for this, right? So I think having all of these opportunities to understand everything that we need to know about, grants, loans, scholarships, both from Morehouse and out in the world that are available. It's really important to do your homework, to really dig in there, ask us questions, check with your community, do everything you can in order to, find the means by which you can do that. So this is the QR code for open house. We hope you'll scan that, register, and join us on the 14th. And then we'll also share the contact us so that people can grab that information if you want to reach out to any of us. Thank you so much for joining us. We have these Tiger Talks on a regular basis. So please do join us again because the topics change every time. Have a great evening, everyone.